a key Democratic senator on the Foreign Relations Committee putting his foot down, saying that he will put up a so-called blanket hold on all of President Trump's State Department nominees. This is Senator Brian Schatz. He's from Hawaii. He says he's doing that in response to this fast-moving takeover by the Trump administration and its allies of the government's main humanitarian agency known as USAID. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that he's now the acting director of the agency, which told its employees to work from home to try and bring its priorities in line with the president's. Listen.
Our goal was to go in and align our foreign aid to the national interest. But if you go to mission after mission and embassy after embassy around the world, you will often find that in many cases, USAID is involved in programs that run counter to what we're trying to do in our national strategy with that country or with that region.
Now, Elon Musk, who we're learning tonight, is now serving in the Trump administration as a so-called special government employee, says that President Trump gave him the green light to completely shut down the agency. NBC's Sahil Kapur is on Capitol Hill for us tonight. So, Sahil, Democrats, they've been looking for a way to effectively push back on the moves we're seeing against USAID and the Treasury system. They really don't have too much power here at this stage of the game. Will any of it put real pressure on President Trump and his allies?
That is the $6.8 trillion question, Ryan. We know that Democrats have started to use the tools that they have at their disposal to attempt to push back on these various Trump moves, including Senator Brian Schatz today announcing a blanket hold on all State Department nominees proposed by President Trump coming to the Senate until he reverses course on his plans, along with Elon Musk, to abolish USAID. Democrats are very fired up about this. A bunch of them from the House and the Senate held a statement, I should say. It was not really a news conference because they didn't take questions, but they all spoke in unison, one after another, to push back on this move. Take a listen to what Congressman Jerry Connolly said outside USAID HQ.
We are going to fight in every way we can, in the courts, in public opinion, with the bully pulpit, in the halls of Congress, and here at AID itself. We are not going to let this injustice happen.
Now, Senator Ed Markey, the Massachusetts Democrat, wants to one-up Schatz by proposing that Democrats vote against all of Trump's nominees. And in addition, Democrats are exploring ways to use this March 14th government funding deadline to try to what Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader, calls choke-off attempts to steal taxpayer money. This comes back to the Treasury system's question. And then there's, related to this, the oversight element. Democrats have written some sternly worded letters. They don't have subpoena power right now. One of those letters comes from Senator Elizabeth Warren. Take a look at what she said in that letter to Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Said, quote, "I am alarmed that as one of your first acts as Secretary, you appear to have handed over a highly sensitive system responsible for millions of Americans' private data and a key function of government to an unelected billionaire and an unknown number of his unqualified flunkies. Among Warren's questions, who has access to these systems that give out trillions and trillions of dollars in taxpayer money? For what purpose? On what basis was this granted? And is it, as some reports suggest, read-only?" Ryan.
You know, Sahil, there's, I think, probably some frustration among Democratic activists, folks that are opposing these moves by Donald Trump, that Democrats just aren't responding properly. He's throwing so much at them in such a short window of time. Are there any discussions inside Democratic circles on how they can kind of turn the tide and actually be effective in this space, despite being in the minority? You pointed to a lot of these kind of scattershot efforts that they're making to try and blunt this momentum that Trump has. Do they need to get a little more organized?
There are a lot of discussions about this, Ryan, but whether they've really settled on a strategy that they can all coalesce around and be effective remains to be seen. What we do know is Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the top Democrats in Congress, have encouraged their members to be focused, to not chase after shiny objects, essentially. For things like, Trump renaming the Gulf of Mexico and maybe the memes about Greenland, don't get outraged about every little thing. What they've encouraged is for Democrats to focus on kitchen table issues, things that can come back to, what swing voters who aren't obsessed with politics can discuss on a regular basis. And to that end, the Treasury payment systems, the tariffs, the spending plans, the tax cut plans that would go to disproportionately wealthy people with spending cuts that might target middle-class plans. These are the kinds of things that they would try to focus on, Ryan.
Okay, Sahil Kapur on Capitol Hill for us. Sahil, thank you for that.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.